What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the TV Toycast YouTube channel. And today we are unboxing from the Masters of the Universe new Eternia line and Masterverse line. It is the one and only, it is Skeletor, the personification of evil, as it were. Really excited about this. You know, initially when this figure hit store shelves a few years ago, the Masterverse line seemed to only be focusing on the Revelation cartoon, the Netflix cartoon. And so these had, I'm like, what is this? And it's just another version of Skeletor. I don't need that. I didn't realize what it was, and then obviously I don't think people realized how big of a hit new Eternia was going to become. He-Man obviously was in that same wave, and then we started seeing more and more characters and realizing, wow, these are really, really good. Now new Eternia is kind of the biggest thing they have, or new Etheria for the She-Ra characters. But of course, Skeletor looking good. He's got his kind of light blue skin trimmed in the dark purple armor. We got two different heads. We got a nice helmet there, kind of giving it a little bit of a different twist. Got a couple extra hands. Got his big staff and a nice big sword. A little different than the power sword we've normally seen with Skeletor, but still really cool. Of course, Masters of the Universe, new Eternia, Skeletor. Of course, right up here, Masterverse, old school style packaging, which I don't think looks bad. But the packaging they use now, which I think I have one here. Yeah, right here. Here's Ninja. I can kind of show you. That's kind of how it looks now. To me, a lot more, a lot sleeker, a lot better look to it. So, of course, Ninja will be coming up relatively soon. Definitely a great figure over there as well. Of course, we got nice image of Skeletor. A couple of different versions. Kind of got the goatee on this one, more of a traditional look there. And then, of course, on the back here, this wave, of course, include the new Eternia He-Man, which we just unboxed a few weeks back. We've got Teal. I believe this was from Revelations, as was this Merman. Skeletor, using his mastery of mystical havoc energy, the madman Skeletor uncovered the violent spell that can forge the Scimitar of Chaos. I'm assuming I'm saying that right. A weapon that collects souls and grants ultimate power to he who wields it. In an undisciplined hand, however, it will bring about the end of Eternia. To be a master of the universe, he must first master death, but at what cost? Very, very cool. The artwork on here is absolutely top notch. I don't feel like sometimes it gets talked about enough, but the artwork on this is just incredible. Of course, nice side shot, Skeletor, evil lord of destruction. And then, like I said, the figure itself looks incredible. So, again, I could see displaying it like that. I know I kind of criticize people that display that way, but I do get it because that does look really cool. You pop it out, and you're like, what a great looking figure. But again, Skeletor has always, to me, been one of those unbelievably fun villains. He's a trendsetter. He's like the Shredder, the Megatron, Cobra Commander. He's one of those villains we will always remember, and will always be one that's Skeletor. Everyone remembers Skeletor. What a cool villain. So of course you're gonna get him out of here. Of course, this backing, a lot of you may notice that's the backing of a lot of my figure pictures I put up. I always thought that was a cool one because it kind of fit for anything. Got this cape. It's taped to the side there, which is interesting, keeping it from going loose, I guess. Nice attention to detail from Mattel there, of course. Do have a soft goods cape. I do appreciate that. All right, get this off here. All right, let's get the tape off. Tape never fun, but it does work for this, I guess. Better that than a twist tie. Twist tie would have been good. Extra head, more of a hooded Skeletor head. So we kind of have like a traditional head, and then kind of like a new age, modern head, which I think is cool. We'll popping the sword out of there. I think that's cool because it kind of gives you a 2-in-1 in a lot of ways. I think extra heads sometimes can be a unique thing because you're like, all right, well, how do I want to display this? But it does kind of give you that 2-in-1 factor as well. So, man, just like this, I think this looks really, really good. This looks really good. Got the armor on there. Of course, that goatee head with the helmet. Very, very interesting looking. I can't say that would be the way I would display it, but it does look really good. Got a little bit of an ink splotch maybe right there on his bicep. Not horrible. Good articulation. Looks like the armor there at the ankles is removable if you wanted to do it. Of course, you have to take his feet off, which that may or may not go well. This is this chest piece. Looks like it goes right over the top there and includes a cape, which is really fun. Kind of adds a different layer to it. I do like the goatee, but I feel like it's kind of like that He-Man that had the helmet. I feel like I need the traditional Skeletor head, so we're going to go with that. You know, in some of these New Age heads, I'm like, oh, that's cool, but I think to me that's Skeletor. Like that's my Skeletor, right? That's what the kids say. That's my Skeletor. So to me, that just looks a little bit better. Although I don't hate the helmet head and the goatee. I think that is kind of fun. All right, let's see. You've got a couple of weapons here. Of course, we got this sword, and we got the staff. I think the sword is in the other hand, but I'm gonna put it in this hand if I can. Very cool. And then the big staff. Classic Skeletor. Yeah, I think that's a cool looking figure. What do you guys think? Of course, see how he stands up. Oh yeah, stands up good. Gonna move these heads and these extra hands out of the way. To me, that's a classic Skeletor by every sense of the word. Like, it just looks awesome. It looks intimidating. It looks fun. The colors are very vibrant. Very, very cool. And I think even if you take this off, it's still, like, that's more of a classic Skeletor. But I feel like you need this. All right, I think I got the cape back together. There's a little button there that looked like it had kind of fallen out. So hopefully that's okay. Your mileage may vary, of course, but overall doesn't look too bad. Like I said, this is a great looking figure. And Skeletor, like I said, is always, to me, one of the all-time great villains. Of course, a couple extra hands if you so desire. We do got a fisted hand and an open hand. So if you don't want to display the weapons in hand, you could use those. To me, I much rather him holding his big staff and his sword. It gives it a little bit more of an intimidating look to the Skeletor character. But all in all, very, very cool. What do you guys think of the new Eternia line? To me, I think modernizing your classic characters is very, very fun and kind of give them a different spin. I think doing, exactly like an Origins figure doesn't do a lot because you're like, okay, it's just like that, but it's taller. It's taller, of course, but you need the modern articulation. You need the accessories. You need the special looks. I think that does add a fun element to it. To me, I'm all about it. I absolutely love it. But again, your mileage may vary on here with how everybody collects. Of course, they also put out that new 80th anniversary of Mattel Skeletor and He-Man set, which is like old school, vintage style. And to me, I'm like, oh, that looks cool, but I'm like, I don't know if I need that. That doesn't really go with anything that I currently have. So that's kind of how I make that decision. But everybody will be different, of course. But overall, definitely a fun addition. I needed to unbox Skeletor next. I got a ton of Masterverse to unbox. But, it's like, I feel like every He-Man collection, the first two figures in the collection have to be He-Man and Skeletor. So it's like, I need to get this one next, and then I can start checking off the guys like Man-at-Arms or, like I just showed off Ninja or Hordak or Too Bad, some of the other ones I have, which are great, don't get me wrong, but it's like, you got to start off with He-Man and Skeletor. That's the only way to start it. But overall, pretty cool figure. One I'm definitely glad I picked up, and it's interesting. With He-Man, my collecting has been all over the place because I initially bought Origins and then decided, I'm all in on Masterverse. And I sold all my Origins. Then the Masterverse started getting bigger, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I sold all my Masterverse and got back into Origins. And now I'm like, I love these Masterverse figures. I need to get it never ends. And so I decided, okay, I'm not selling anything this time. I'm just going to hang on to it for a while. I can always sell it later if I want to, but for now, I'm going to hang on to it and see how it goes. It is what it is at times. But overall, definitely a really, really fun figure. Of course, now we also have Motu 2000X about to hit. In fact, by the time this video drops, it may have already started to hit it in certain places. I know Wave 1 will be He-Man, Triclops, and Stratos, I believe, with the deluxe figure of Beastman. So those look all really, really fun. Again, I didn't really watch the 2000X cartoon, but it does look super cool. So I don't know. I think I feel like I have to pick those up. I'm actually going to watch a YouTube video when I get done with these to see what I think of those. So they look fun. They look different, and it'll be cool to see how those shake out, of course. But Skeletor, not a bad looking figure, and of course, if you're collecting He-Man, I feel like he's a necessary figure. Will match up very well with some of the other ones in the collection that I've already unboxed, like Merman, Manny Faces. Who else have I unboxed? Fisto, and of course He-Man. So it'll be very, very cool to see that. But let me know in the comments down below what you feel about this, what all He-Man figures you collect, if any, or maybe you're just on the fence and appreciate them from a distance. I feel like this day and age with so many things hitting the market, nothing wrong with appreciating something from a distance. I certainly do that with certain lines where I'm like, wow, those are cool. NECA's a good one for me. I kind of got out of NECA completely with the occasional horror figure, but I'm like, I can appreciate it from a distance. As cool as it is, it's like, I don't know if I need all of those in my collection. But again, that is just me. But very, very cool nonetheless. Of course, lots of cool unboxings this week. I unboxed a ton of different figures on the channel. On Monday, I dove into Austin Gunn from the AEW Jazzwares line. That was definitely a fun one. Of course, Austin Gunn, a little bit underutilized in my opinion on the AEW roster, but cool that he got a figure. And again, that's what I like about Jazzwares having the AEW line, is we get guys that maybe wouldn't get wrestling figures for a very long time. So very, very cool. That was on Monday. On Wednesday, I unboxed Millhouse from the Simpsons line. Came with a bicycle. That was pretty fun. Love the Simpsons figures. And, of course, you got to have Bart's best buddy, right? You got to have Millhouse there. Always fun for that. And then, of course, Skeletor was today. Of course, last week was some really good unboxings. On Monday, Hulk Hogan from the new LJN line from Mattel. So cool to unbox that. Since then, I got Logan Paul in the same day. But since then, I've also gotten in John Cena. So I think Dusty Rhodes is set to arrive tomorrow as I record this, which is fun. So those will all be unboxed on the channel relatively soon. That was on Monday. On Wednesday, I unboxed Zalbar from the Star Wars The Black Series line from Hasbro. Always really cool to dive into a fun Hasbro Star Wars figure. And then on Friday, Abdullah the Butcher, the madman from the Sudan from Zombie Sailor Toys, and his retro Heels and Faces line. Always a lot of fun. So a lot of cool unboxings on the channel. So check all of those out. Of course, check out What's on the Pegs, dropping a new episode every Saturday to see all my fun and exciting toy hunts and what I'm finding out there on the pegs. Check those out. And then, of course, check out the TB Toycast podcast. We drop a new episode every Thursday. Me and Travis do a different main event, diving into a specific toy line from the past, as well as all the cool toy news throughout the week. So check that out every Thursday wherever you get your podcast. And as well, also check us out on TikTok, TB Toycast on TikTok. Doing big numbers over there, kinda. It's fun though, and people seem to enjoy it, that's what it's all about. That's all we're trying to do, is just have fun with this stuff. So always appreciate all the views, all the downloads, all the good stuff. We always appreciate it over here. Thank you all very much for checking out the TB Toycast YouTube channel. That is Skeletor from the Masters of the Universe Masterverse line, and we will see you in the toy aisle.
Yeah. One more time. It ain't over till I say it's over. So lock the cage up, cause this is a takeover. The wait's over. If this the final time we meet, then you'll be on your back on my feet. Then I'll tip the cage over as a hangover. I'm super fly so I can splash off the top. And I can shut down the shot.